Founded in 2013, the Arizona Italian Association is growing from a concept of 6 men that started into a huge festival, a heritage museum, with an end goal of being Arizona's Little Italy. Executive Director Francesco Guzzo is at the table with me to talk more about this Italian festival. You started out, Francesco, working 15 years as a marketing strategy consultant and business development. You are Italian. It is in your blood. The first thing you came in to try to teach me today was how to roll my R's. Very American here. I'm trying. But tell me a little bit about what it means to be an Arizona Italian.
What a great question. And thank you for having me here, first of all.
Absolutely.
It's fun to be here. Nice meeting you. What does it mean to be an Italian in Arizona? That almost carries a lot of weight. I'm like, wow, I wasn't expecting that question. But it's being Italian, to me, is all. It's not just about the food. I mean, Italy represents so much to the world
It
in
does.
general. If you look at historically, just
The arts,
people,
the
arts,
culture.
all of it that comes from Italy, and it's shared all over the world.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Arizona is that it's prime. It's still what I consider fertile ground. In other words, there isn't enough Italian arts and culture. There aren't enough Italian arts and culture centers. Actually, I don't think there are any in Arizona. But it gives us an opportunity to really show what Italy represents. And so in 2013, when these gentlemen started the Italian Association, their goal was, number one, to find a way to bring Italians together, and then to share, not just with Italians, but with the entire community at large, what Italy represents here in Arizona. And here, predominantly, it's a lot of the foods and the wines, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, the wines coming in from Italy and Arizona are fantastic. And the foods, if you look at all the restaurants, some of the most famous and popular ones are Italian.
Oh, yes.
From the pizzas to the pastas to the gourmet dishes and the chefs that come in from Italy with their Italian accents, which I don't have, but I am from Italy. I just don't speak like this. But yeah, they're Italian. They bring the culture with them. They bring their traditions with them. I was in the kitchen with one of the chefs one time in his restaurant, and watching him prepare the food, and there was one gentleman in particular, he was rolling the pasta by hand with his thumb, like my mother used to do.
That's when you talk about cooking with love. Is
Absolutely.
that right there.
Yep.
And it really does make a difference in the food.
It does.
It's crazy how it works, but it really does. He put his passion, his heart into it.
Absolutely.
What is it about that makes the Italian food stand out and so different than American pastas and pizzas and stuff like that?
I think people just love the flavors. There's the pizza festival coming up on November 6th. It's truly that. It is a pizza festival.
Oh.
So we've got 5 unique pizza vendors. Now the interesting thing about that is that you can go and order a pizza napoletana from each one of them, and every one of them is going to taste slightly different.
Yeah.
Because they all have their own way of making it. And if you go to Italy, it's different, completely different than it is here. So that's the uniqueness of the food, is everybody has their own little spin of how to create something or craft something. Because it's not, I don't want to just say it's something you just throw in the oven.
No,
it's
it's
crafted.
Mm-hmm.
It's unique. It's different,
Yeah.
and the flavors are just fantastic.
I'm upset that you didn't bring anything. That's fine. I will go and I will promise you I will taste everything. But before we get there, I do want to talk a little bit about the history of Italians here in Arizona, because they were one of the first people here when the copper mining started off. So they've been around for generations.
They have.
What kind of contribution has the Italian community brought to Arizona, and how are we looking to grow that? I know you kind of touched on that a little bit by bringing more of the arts and culture aspect in, but talk about how they've helped form the history of Arizona a little bit.
One of the first Italians that ever came into Arizona was in the late 1600s was Father Kino.
Okay.
He came in with the Spaniards. He came in through Mexico, came into Arizona, set up one of the first missions in Arizona, which is still here, south of Tucson. You can actually go see it.
Very cool.
And it's still there. It's standing today. He was a cartographer. So on a mule, he mapped out and drew out Arizona and went all the way into the Baja of California.
Wow.
And mapped it all out. And he was here in the late 1600s. And then fast forward into, the early 1900s, we had 400 Italians that came into Arizona that were documented in a book by a gentleman in Italy, a doctor in Italy, who did it as part of his retirement thing, just something to do. I'm like, okay, I'd find something different to do, but
I'm with you, but whatever.
I'm like, okay. I'm glad he did.
I would go to the other side of Italy and learn how to cook and drink more is what I would
Right?
do. But that's fine. I'm happy he did
Even
it.
that is an art and craft.
Yes, agreed.
But anyway, so he documented these 400 Italians that came in and settled in the area that's now known as the Morenci copper mines. And he documented how they came into Arizona and then eventually spread out, and some left the state and some, I don't even know where, most of them ended up. And one of them actually has my last name.
Really?
And oddly enough, I was someone reached out to me by email and said, my last name is Guzzo, and one of my parents or someone in their family immigrated here and went to the Morenci copper mines. Oh my God! I said, you're in the book. Your family is in the book. So it's interesting. And then you have somebody like Cosanti, where the gentleman that created these beautiful bells, and he's from Italy, and so the arts and culture, the traditions are here. We just don't know where they are. They're sort of segmented or fragmented in different parts of the state, and so we're looking for a way to pull that all in together and actually educate the Italians as well, because a lot of Italians don't even know that this stuff existed or that this stuff happened. And also the community. And we're big on that. We're big on the education part as well.
Well, that's what I want to talk about too. You're going to put on this amazing festival, and we are going to get into more details, everything the Pizza and Wine Festival is going to bring to us on Saturday. But I do want to learn a little bit more about the Italian, association. You're not just a festival, organizer or anything like that. You are trying to bring knowledge and teach us more about the Italian culture. You do Italian lessons on speaking Italian, right?
Yep.
What are some other things that you were trying to grow and build, and how are you getting the community involved to teach us more?
So there's a lot of different pieces to all of this, and obviously the Italian festival started as a way to bring people together, and it works. Our last festival in 2019, we had 10,000 people that came through the event.
Oh my gosh.
It was over at the waterfront in Old Town Scottsdale. Yeah. It was beautiful. I mean, we had over 20 entertainers come in from Italy.
Wow,
that's
cool.
Yeah, it was. And we set up for the first time, because it sounds like you have not experienced
I have not
yet.
experienced it.
You're going to.
I don't know if everyone knows, but I moved here 8 months before the world shut down. So I hadn't gotten to experience all the festivals and stuff that Scottsdale represents. So I'm very excited. This is like new. Everything's new for me.
Well, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of thought that goes into creating the festival, because it's more than just a festival. It's actually an event. And Fantastic. It's choreographed in a way that gives people an experience. So our goal is that when you come into the festival, you actually feel like you're walking into a piece of Italy.
Oh, yes.
And so that's the point. And in 2019, we tested a concept. We created a pop-up museum. And we brought in a museum curator from Milan, and she brought in all of her father's artwork, which was Francesco Corni. He was a historian artist.
Okay.
So he would go around and design and hand draw these historical castles that were all over Italy and document all of the history of these castles. Everything was done by hand. It was a success. People loved it. So we thought, okay, we've got to build on this. Mm-hmm. So the next festival, which was originally scheduled for 2020, which you could have made.
I think we just skipped that year, yeah.
Right. We were going to build on that concept. Obviously, it didn't happen. We canceled for 2 years in a row, and our third one is coming up in February of 22.
Okay.
And that'll be in downtown Phoenix. But we've now expanded on that whole concept, where we're going to bring in local Italian artists to display their artwork. We're going to bring in Italian art from Italy and display that in the actual art gallery that we're going to create there. And we're building out an Italian marketplace.
Yes.
At the event site itself. So the festival itself is one of the ways that of sort of displaying all of the Italian arts and culture. And then, like you mentioned earlier, we have Italian language classes now. We started with one class during COVID because we were trying to reinvent ourselves.
Great idea, by the way.
And we're now up to 4 classes per semester. And so those classes are growing. We went from one instructor to two instructors, and the classes are growing with every semester. So there's interest. We've had some cooking classes. We're building on those as well.
Ah, I like that.
We do wine tastings,
I like
wine
that
pairing.
even more.
I know. We have, we're blessed in that we have some of the best chefs around are here in Scottsdale and in Arizona, and they work with us and they help us. And we did a member appreciation night a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
We had it up in Cave Creek, and our business members, our chefs donated handmade pasta, donated all the prosciutto and salami, and the breads were made by one of the local pizza vendors who's going to be here. He actually baked all the bread in the oven and delivered it to the restaurant. And so that entire evening was gifted by all of our business members. I mean, it was fantastic. We had Crescent Crown because they carry the Peroni brand.
Okay.
Peroni's
Yep.
the Italian beer.
I do know them actually, yes.
Yeah. And so, but that's
that shows what the community is about right there.
And what it's capable of.
Exactly. You came together, you had an idea, and look how much you're expanding and teaching all of us and bringing all your Italian, ancestors together here. You are from Italy?
I'm from Italy. I was
Okay.
born in Italy, although you can't tell by my accent, like I said earlier.
How long have you been here in the States? Tell me about getting over here.
I came here through Canada. We immigrated to Canada when I was a child.
Okay.
My dad was offered work up there, and all my mother's side of the family was up there. So we moved to Canada. And then 25 years ago, or I guess it's over that now, but I really had this drive to want to be here. And I had some friends from Canada that moved to Florida.
Okay.
And of course, anybody that goes to Florida goes, oh my God, I got to live in Florida.
Right.
Because Florida is just a fun state. But that sort of was the impetus for me to just say, okay, I want to live in the United States and figure it out. So I ended up in Arizona. I've been here for about 10 years.
Okay.
And my background, as you mentioned, my background is marketing strategy. Mm-hmm. And I sort of transitioned out of that and just felt like I needed to do something different, something different with my life, something that was creative. It wasn't creative enough for me. And so when I was offered the opportunity to work with the Italian Association and help them build it, not knowing what even an executive director had to do at the time when they said, would you be an executive director? I'm like, sure.
I'm in.
What do I do? And it just grew and developed over time, and it's been an amazing almost 2 years now. A great journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you speak fluent Italian?
Posso parlare in italiano, posso spiegarti tante cose in italiano, possiamo parlare anche di vino se vuoi.
Agreed. Whatever.
Did that work?
Well, let's dive in to what kind of brought us together here. The Italian Festival Pizza and Wine event is coming up this Saturday, November 6th from 12 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. I'm just going to spew a little bit out there. Kids 12 and under are free.
Absolutely.
It's just a $10 general admission to get in.
Pre-sale.
Good to know. So go ahead and get your tickets online. I do have the link in the description of this podcast, so it's very easy. Just click on it and it'll take you there. What are we going to expect besides the food and wine? I'm really excited. Like we talked about a few minutes ago, I've never been. So tell me what to expect. It's family friendly.
It is.
Okay.
The Pizza and Wine Festival was designed in a way that we wanted to give people, number one, we're all coming out of a challenging year and a half. It's been insane for a lot of people. And so this is the first major event for us in being able to bring people together outdoors. And we haven't been able to host the 2-day festival for 2 years now. And so we've been wanting to do something for the community. And so the Pizza and Wine Festival idea came from one of our business members who owns several pizza restaurants in town. And so we kind of built on that idea, and we thought, okay, let's create something where people will have an opportunity to see what our big event is like, but on a smaller scale. And so the Pizza and Wine Festival is really just that. It's all about pizza and the wines that are being imported from Italy, sponsored by Stefano Farina, which you can look him up online, one of the largest vineyards in Italy, and some amazing wines. And so he's already shipped over a lot of wine. Which
Where is it being stored, Francesco? At your place?
in a special warehouse in an undisclosed location.
Fair enough.
So we've brought together, a selection of pizza chefs from the Valley that are going to be there, and they're all going to create their own versions of their pizzas, and each one of them is also going to have something else in addition to the pizza, whether it's a salad or a dish of pasta or something. So there are other foods. There are gluten-free options because we've actually had people email us, so they're going to be gluten-free pizzas. Yes, there's going to be gluten-free pizzas. It's now become a thing.
Yes.
And so the rest of it, though, was really designed in a way to say, okay, if I have a family, what are my children going to be able to enjoy? And so we're bringing in stilt walkers, jugglers, face painters, street performers.
Fun. Which is a huge part of Italy. If you go over there, street performers are a big part of your culture and community.
They are. And you'll see them in the piazzas, in some of the most famous piazzas, like Piazza San Marco in Venice or in Rome, Piazza Navona especially, which is so romantic. And so we've got the street performers. Then we've got a selection of Ferraris that are going to be there on display because they're the epitome of Italian art. We're bringing in a restored Alfa Romeo and a Fiat.
Very cool.
So people will get to see what those were like. We have the Go Fast motorcycles, the Ducatis, the Aprias, the Moto Guzzi, which I still think I'm related to, but just changed the name. One of the digits on my last name. But so we've got a lot of things to see. And then the other big part of it is the music.
Okay.
So through the day, we've got Steve Ansel and the Jackson Street Band that are going to be playing some of the sort of the typical Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin style music in their own way.
I love that.
Then we have a special performance by the Phoenician Tenors that'll probably happen mid-afternoon. I'm thinking like 4:30.
Okay.
And I say approximately because everything shifts as we move along depending on how things go. And then in the evening, this is where I get excited. We have a full-on concert. So right around 6:30, a little bit later or sooner, I'm not sure yet, but 6:30, we've got a group called Mbrascato. And the gentleman who heads up the group, Andrea, he's from Italy.
Okay.
He's a songwriter, singer-songwriter, and he's fantastic. This guy is amazing. He's got a 5-piece band coming down to perform a full-on concert in the evening.
I miss music so much. This is like everything that we're missing right now in life that we need.
And I'm hoping that, people will just sort of in their own way, however they feel safe in doing it, get to dance and just enjoy being outside.
Yeah.
So we've created a family event through the day, and an evening event is kind of like the grown-ups can just hang out, have a slice of pizza, drink a beer, have a glass of wine, and enjoy the music.
And each other's company. I love it. Tell me about some of the vendors that we can expect there. I assume, are there a lot of them local restaurants and owners? What's going on?
All the pizza vendors are local.
Very
so
nice.
You'll find them either with stands at the markets or they have their own restaurants.
Okay.
Like Fabian Fire has a restaurant up in Peoria. Romolo from D'Amico, he's at the farmer's market every weekend where you can literally stand there and wait for your bread to come out of the oven.
I've eaten it. It's delicious. It did not make it home. We went and sat in the corner and me and my kids devoured it all. It's still good.
Lulu Sorbetto he makes some phenomenal sorbet. And I don't even want to call it sorbet because it doesn't give it justice. It's sorbetto, and it's Italian sorbetto, and he is fantastic at what he does. So we have a selection of different foods. I think there's something for everyone, and even for the children. Who doesn't love pizza?
Yeah. What is your favorite Italian food?
Anyone that knows me knows that I will eat pasta all day long, which is, it's crazy, but I do. I should be like 300 pounds.
Is it like a pasta with red sauce? Is it just plain pasta? Like, is there a kind of pasta that you like more than others?
So I typically go to the market and buy fresh made pasta.
Right.
And one of our members has a stand there at the market, so I'm always buying their fresh made pasta. I enjoy cooking. So I will go home and make my own tomato sauce or ragu sauce or something interesting with fish, or it's a creative process for me.
I agree. I love it.
And I really enjoy that part of it. So that even though they're always offering me, here, try the sauce, I'm like, nah, it's okay, thank you. I really want to go home and cook the sauce. So I'll make whatever comes to mind. I'll just open up the cupboard and say, okay, what if I mix this with this?
Yeah.
And I do it, and it turns out really good.
I like see a shift in how you're acting when you talk about it. Like you just, it's in your soul. Like you can see it when you're talking about it. It's a passion of yours, and that says a lot about who you are as an Italian American. You know.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
love
it for me. My brain is constantly going. I'm always thinking about things. The cooking process for me slows all of that down, because then for me I can stand in front of the stove and just try and create, because I'm creating now. I get to use the right side of my brain, not having to think.
Yeah.
I can't bake worth.
I can't either.
I mean, if my life depended on it,
I can't either. And I mean, it is so bad that I can't even bake. The running joke with baking for me is my husband asked me to bake him some brownies for his birthday. Out of a box, okay? We're not getting creative. And I didn't do it. They burnt, they were flat, it was burnt chocolate bark. I cannot bake
I get
either.
it.
Yeah.
I'm there with you.
I love cooking. It really does. It's my time. It's calming for me. I will turn on, I love some classical jazz music or something like that, and I'll just go to town and cook. And I can tune out the rest of the world when I'm in the kitchen like that.
And see, we understand each other.
Yeah.
Because that's what it does. I mean, I have my Italian music playing, and I really love listening to Italian music. And then I just, the creative juices just start flowing, and before you know it. And then, of course, you've got to pair it with a wine.
Of course. What's your favorite wine?
So I don't know that I have. I mean, I prefer reds over whites.
I do too, yeah.
Flat out. Mm-hmm. And then Italians over Americans. But I've tasted some amazing, California wines coming out of Napa. But there's just something about the flavors that come out of Tuscany.
I agree.
And some of these Tuscan vineyards. And so when Stefano Farina, I do have one of his wines, Le Brume, which is kind of like a super Tuscan.
Okay.
And it's sort of my day-to-day wine. So I'm kind of spoiled that way. And I blame the wine importer because he's a friend. And he's made me taste all these... This is a good problem
to have, let's be honest.
He's made me taste all these wines, and I'm like, I can't drink this anymore. I have to drink this. So,
what's something from Italy that you miss, that we're kind of missing here in the States or Arizona in particular? Something from the motherland?
I miss being able to just get in my car and drive for maybe an hour and see the coast.
Yeah.
And these little villages in the mountains that overlook this beautiful, whether it's the Mediterranean or the Ionian Sea. Mm-hmm. My nieces and I, a couple of years ago, just got in the car and said, hey, let's just drive to the southern tip of Italy, because I'm from southern Italy. And it was about a 3-hour drive. And 2 hours into the drive, I'm like, okay, we need to stop for a coffee. So we just pulled into the first town, and we grab our coffee, and we're standing there in the piazza, and I'm overlooking the ocean, and there was this massive land out there. And I looked at my niece, I said, is that Sicily? She said, yeah. I'm like, oh my God. I said, let's go there for lunch. So we drove 20 minutes down, hopped on the ferry. We were in Messina an hour later. We went in, we were told where to find the best arancini and the best cannolis, Sicilian cannolis.
Oh, yeah.
And so we did that. We did some sightseeing. A couple hours later, we're back on the ferry, back in Italy, and continued on our drive south. You can't do that here.
No, you cannot do that. You can't even drive that far to get water, no.
And that's what I meant. Those are the things that I miss, like just being able to see that kind of scenery and the culture that's there. And
it's very different. It is a very
different.
unique feeling and something to witness.
It is. So if you ever need a tour guide, just let me know. That you and your husband, I'll show you around. I can speak the language.
Even
take you to Rome.
That's whenever we travel, we always find one local person. Like we'll go to a popular restaurant and talk to our server, our waiter or waitress, and be like, where do you go? That's the only places I want to go, wherever the locals hang out, because that's authentic to us.
It is.
And that's where you'll get the best food, the best atmosphere, and that's what we love too. So I will definitely take you up on that.
That's fun.
Well, we talked about what you missed so much about Italy and the motherland and everything else, but my favorite question to end every interview is, what's your favorite Scottsdale vibe?
Now you're going to put me on the spot
I
because
know.
I have so many of them that are like friends, and I can't just pick one. That so obviously the restaurant. I mean, a lot of the restaurants are chef owned.
Yeah.
So the chefs are the owners, and every one of them is fantastic. From Tutti Santi to Pomo to Marcellino's to Fabio. And everything in between, L'Americano with Scott Conant, and
Yeah.
they're all supporters of the organization. But more than that, they hold true to Italian traditions. So if I go to funny story with Marcellino. I've known him for the number of years that I've lived here in Arizona. I met him shortly after I moved here, and we've become good friends. And so I've been going to his restaurant for years. He makes, hands down, the best handmade pasta that a restaurant makes. And so one day I'm there, and he said, would you like something to eat? I'm like, yeah, but I don't want pasta. And he goes, okay. He goes, we have other things on the menu. I'm like what? He goes, would you like some, steak? I'm like, you make steak? And he prepared what I would consider the finest filet mignon that I have ever had.
Like melt in your mouth kind
of. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. He cures the meat for 3 months.
Wow.
Cook it rare, and there's no blood. It literally melted in my mouth. I think he was offended when I said, you have other things than just pasta here, because it's not something that we talk about.
Right.
And that's the same for all of these other restaurants. They're all fantastic restaurants. They all make amazing dishes or create these amazing dishes, but they're always known for one thing in particular. And so it's a matter of exploring.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to pick one. I know. You want me to say, I want to go here, but it's so hard to do. I can't.
But like you just said, each one has a specialty. And it could be like a different special pasta at different ones, right? They all have a touch of what their passion is.
Absolutely.
So yes, you can go get pasta at every single one, but it will taste different at every single one. So you're still getting a taste of love and history.
You are. Absolutely.
Well, Francesco, thank you so much for joining me at the table today. Go check out the Italian Pizza and Wine Festival this Saturday. It's at the Civic Center, right?
It's right next door to the Civic Center.
Okay.
So the Civic Center, you'll see a big, fencing all around the Civic Center. But if you go just to the north of it, over by 75th, where the City Hall, literally in the City Hall parking lot, is where we're setting up.
Perfect. I will definitely be there. I'm wearing elastic pants so I can eat and drink everything and not feel bad. So come check us out. We'll be out there. Thank you so much for joining me.